be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same at the Grizzly Gentleman, same promo code, 10% off at checkout. Both of these are fantastic deals, and they help support the show. What is up, Planeswalkers? Xerath finally here with some Zendikar Rising spoilers. I am finally back in about time too, from Michigan. It was very nice seeing all of my family again. It has been literal years since I've seen them, and I feel very old. Not only do I feel very old, I still very much feel like a child, which is very, very strange. But according to my 50-year-old aunt, I think she said she was 50. I have bad memory. According to her, you never stop feeling like a child. So today we are going to start with the Zendikar previews, or the Zendikar spoilers. We're going to talk about possibly all 309, although this will definitely be the most I've done in a while because I did miss a week. But I'm going to be changing how I address spoiler season moving forward. And essentially, I'm not really going to be making normal videos during spoiler week. The main reason for this is that no one really cares. Generally speaking, once you get into the actual week where previews have started, people don't really watch normal gameplay. Even though my channel is now solidly historic based, people tend to still not really care about what essentially is going to be an irrelevant format in a couple of weeks. So what I'm going to be trying to do is, I think for the first season of previews, I'm probably not going to talk about anything that's directly been previewed yet. So like the first week of previews, I'll probably make predictions. I'll talk about, for example, on Wednesdays, it'll still be Bolas focused, but instead I'll be talking about the card that I'm looking for, things that I think that this Bolas deck needs in order for me to play my decks better. So yeah, Mondays will be like predictions. Tuesdays, I'm not entirely sure. Thursdays will be my predictions for EDH/Brawl content. So things that I suspect Wizards might be printing in order to help out various strategies or colors or what have you. And then Fridays, I will likely talk about my opinion on the feel of the set by the art and whatnot. And then the second week, which is what we have right now, I will have theoretically both Monday and Tuesday, where I talk about a bulk of the cards that have been spoiled so far. Wednesday, I'll talk about the cards. So this is actually, yeah, this is Monday. Wednesday, I'll be talking about the cards that we have so far actually gotten for Bolas and talk about potential deck lists there. Thursday, I'll talk about the cards for EDH/Brawl that I'm most excited for. Then Thursday and Friday, we would continue, and I would wrap up the rest of the spoiler season. So, I just say Thursday and Friday, I meant Friday and Saturday. Whatever. Anyway, this is going to probably be a long video because, technically speaking, this should have been splayed out, across two days. So, we have this on Scryfall, and this is in order of being previewed, and I have the full thing here, so I don't have to, like, make a bunch of pages. I get to just scroll down. So first we're going to start with Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. I'm hoping that my Hollow Knight music in the background, done by Christopher Larkin, fantastic music, is not too loud. Regardless. Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients is a 4-mana 4-loyalty planeswalker. +1, create a 1/1 core, and you may attach an equipment you control to it. -2, look at the top 6 cards of your library, reveal a warrior or equipment card from among them and put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. And then -3, Nahiri deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to twice the number of equipment you control. So, I very much like this planeswalker because it is narrow but strong. It definitely is focused around either, well, warriors as well as equipments. It has a decent starting loyalty, it protects itself, it has removal as an option, but this doesn't have an ultimate. So that is something that you might potentially want to evaluate in terms of something like Commander, but for general constructed formats, this isn't actually a bad thing. Very frequently you'll see planeswalkers being discussed with regards to their ultimate, but when you look at more of the competitive scene, many people will essentially disregard or not even read the ultimate because you're not expecting to get to that point. When you have a no ultimate planeswalker, sometimes it can actually be stronger because you're getting more effects that are easier to get to. So the +1 obviously is very fun. You can have some funny situations in Historic with the big 1-mana +10/+10 a bunch to equip hammer. I don't remember what it's called, but I can see the dang art in my head. But that big hammer only costs 1 mana, so having something like this is quite funny. The -2 can help you if you're playing a warrior and or equipment deck, especially in Historic, where there is a wider variety of warriors and equipment. Especially considering we're likely going to see even more warriors with the forthcoming, whatever, I don't know the correct word, D&D Forgotten Realms set. I think that the warrior tribe is going to get a little bit more love in these coming times. And then the -3, I appreciate that it scales. I appreciate that you can use it as soon as she comes down. However, I do not think this would be too strong if it said any target. Twice the number of equipment you control, if we're thinking about purely a constructed sense, is almost certainly going to be, 2 or 3 equipment at a time. The main problem with some equipments, or some equipment decks, is that you need both creatures to equip to, as well as the equipment themselves. Obviously, you can mitigate this somewhat with equipment that comes in with creatures, so we did see a little bit of that. There's that 2 mana white equipment that comes with the creature. There are obviously the germ token creatures from Scars of Mirrodin block from long ago. But I don't think it would have been too much to give this any target, because dealing, if you have 1 equipment out, that's 2 damage. Not the best. If you have 2 equipment out, that's 4 damage to a creature planeswalker. That's pretty good. But 4 damage to your opponent's face isn't necessarily going to be the strong. It's not going to be like the most insanity of abilities. So I just would have liked to see it as any target, but as it is now, I think it is fine. Jace Mirror Mage, or Jace the Mind Broken, is really interesting. So there is a combination that you should know of, and that is with Teferi's Ageless Insight. With that card, you essentially are replacing this 0 draw effect. So I'm actually going to go ahead and duplicate this. There we go. Duplicate this, do a good old-fashioned Tef, not Turf, Tef, Age. There we go. Teferi's Ageless Insight. If you would draw a card, except the first one, blah, 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 draw 2 instead. So that is replacing, so I said replacement effect, whatever effect is telling you to draw that other card. So what that means is, you're saying, draw a card. I assume if you're activating this on your turn, this is not the first time you've drawn. Technically speaking, there could be situations in which it is. But you draw a card. But no, Teferi's Ageless Insight says, instead of doing that, so don't do that, don't draw a card and reveal it, just draw these 2 cards. The rest of this ability does not do anything. So with Teferi's Ageless Insight, you get to have free draw 2, which is pretty cool. The +1, obviously, to scry 2 is also just generally helpful, any type of control shell. And being able to have a kicked copy is very interesting, because what you can do is you can scry with the smaller one, whose loyalty is 1, to 1, get it higher, and then 2, like, you get to display those scries in such a way where, order those scries in such a way where you'll be able to draw something that isn't going to kill your big Jace, your main Jace, and continue going like that. So I think this is a very interesting card. I think it is not going to be, hopefully it's not going to be too powerful. 3 mana, 4 loyalty, can go up to 5, is potentially very strong. I think, oh gosh, I think Fry is leaving Standard, isn't it? Or is Fry already gone in Standard? Fry M20? Fry is leaving Standard. So, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest fan of Planeswalkers who jump up to 5 loyalty, 5 or more loyalty on 3 mana. However, this one doesn't protect itself, which is quite nice. The issue is the decks that are running this are going to be able to protect itself very easily. So I think it's probably going to see a lot of Standard play. Outside of that, I don't expect it to be too much. Spell Shield is dive down except worse, which makes me happy. However, it's just probably not going to see any play in Center or Historic. It can give your creature +0/+3, but really dive down is almost always there for the hexproof. Obviously, getting the +3 on the toughness does absolutely help it, but typically I've seen it used for the hexproof. Volkut Awakening and Volkut Stoneforge. Now, the way these lands work, or the way these cards work, is that the face card has this 1 triangle, and that is what it is everywhere, except for like when you're changing the zones with it to play it. So if you can search your library for an instance, say via something like Mystical Tutor, or you can get an instant out of your graveyard, say with something like Finale. No, that wasn't Finale of Promise. No, whatever. The red thing that had Niv Mizzet on it. Something like that. Then you can do this. But if you're trying to get something that says like search your library for a land or return a land from your graveyard, that cannot get this. I believe that if something allows you to play the card, even if it's not in your hand, you'll still be able to choose whether or not to play it as this or as this. But I think if it says cast it, you can only do a cast portion. I believe that's how it works. Things might change. Definitely look at the official document once that comes out. What do I think about this one specifically? I think it's very good. I think so far this is one of the better rare versions. It's 3 mana instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many +1, or you can play it as a land. So the point of this card is essentially, if you've just been top decking a bunch of lands and you're mana flooded, being able to get this and yeet all of those lands to the bottom, and then draw that many +1 is fantastic. It allows you to essentially refresh your hand from a bunch of garbo that you have. If you are, however, earlier in the game, or you're missing land drops or whatever, and you draw this, then you can just play this as an unfortunately tap land, but it's still a land that you otherwise wouldn't have. I personally am not good enough to know how you should count these essentially in a deck, right? Obviously this can be played as a land, but it's a slow land and it only taps for 1. But it's also a spell. So I don't know exactly how land bases are meant to adjust, or if they're meant to adjust at all, and you just like play them for incidental values, like, oh, this can be a land, but I'm still going to play the 23 to 26 or whatever the average is. One thing I do want to note about Valakut, or I guess 2 things, is that you draw that many +1. So even if you don't have anything else in your hand, if you're top decking this, you do at least get a redraw, which can be quite nice if you are in top deck mode. Additionally, this puts any number of cards on the bottom of your library. And some newer players might see that as an upside, but it isn't. That is very often a downside, because that's one of the places that is harder for you to get cards from. Your graveyard is much easier to grab cards from than the bottom of your library. So although some newer players might see this card and say, oh, it's fantastic, all of these other cards are saying I have to put them in my graveyard, I'm not going to have those cards now, they're over here in my graveyard, at least I have a chance of like shuffling my deck and redrawing these. Not the case. This is actually a downside, but I do think it's a downside that's reasonable to deal with, because Wizards may not want you to be able to just yeet a bunch of cards into your graveyard. For example, if this were put cards into your graveyard, this might be done with Dredge, because this will allow you to essentially pay 3 mana, put a bunch of Dredge cards in there, and draw that many +1, except you're not drawing, you're dredging them, and then you still get maybe 1 draw, something along the lines of, I mean, for what it's worth, I don't actually play like Dredge decks, but Ancient Tomb or whatever, Exile Simian Spirit Guide, Valakut Awakening, wait, how many of those? 3, so 4. So, Golgari, look, Dredger, all right? Just say 3 of the Dredgers, you dredge 3 of them, you get to draw a card. I don't know, I'm just saying, right? I think that would be probably too good, so I think this was a purposeful decrease in this card's power level. Reuben Crab, we can now play 8 Crab. However, I'm going to talk about this. Look, this is good art timing, but this art looks so good. Honestly, I think a lot of it is this border treatment. I absolutely love it. But we now are able to use 8 total Hedron Crab effects. So Hedron Crab, for those of you who may not know, Hedron Crab. Oh, how slow this is. I mean, I could pause. There we go. Hedron Crab is this. Landfall. Target player mills 3. Landfall. Each opponent mills 3. This card is better in almost every way. Almost every way. It has 1 more point of toughness, as you can see. One more point of toughness. This targets. This does not. This hits multiple opponents. This only hits 1 player. Technically speaking, this is going to be better because 1, it has more toughness, and 2, it doesn't require a target. So if your opponent has something like Shalai, you can still hit them. But the reason it's not like objectively better, or strictly better, is what the phrase everyone uses, is because that this can mill you. If you want to mill yourself, this card allows you to do that. This card does not. So it's not strictly better, but if you're trying to mill your opponent, this is just better. That said, if you're playing Modern, play all of them, baby! I love this card. I absolutely love it. Oh, they're both uncommons, so I guess that doesn't matter either, because I'm not allowed to have any fun in Pauper. Whatever. Marasa, Root Grazer is a 2-mana, 2/3 beast. Vigilance, you may tap, put a land from your hand to the battlefield, basic land, and then tap, return a basic land you control to his owner's hand. This card is, honestly decently statted. I expect to see this a decent amount of play. I expect to see this. I expect this to see a decent amount of play in limited formats for the Landfall decks, because this allows you to essentially just keep rebuying Landfall later in the game. You know, if you and your opponent are both in top deck mode, you being able to keep getting guaranteed Landfall, even maybe 2 Landfalls, is quite nice. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, it's a 2/3 beast. It can get lands back, which is cool. It is important that these are basic, so you can't get like extra Bajuka Bog triggers or things like that. You can't like flash in I can't think of anything like important in standard, but you can't get like a Maze of instant speed or something like that to phase out a blocker. But what is interesting about this is that you get to put this in untapped. So that is nice. You just, technically ramp if you have the lands in hand. I don't know. Blood Chief's Thirst. This is a good old-fashioned 1-mana sorcery. Destroy target creature planeswalker with converted mana cost 2 or less. If the spell was kicked, instead destroy target creature or planeswalker. Kicker's 3, so it's a 4-mana sorcery to either destroy target creature or planeswalker, or it's a 1-mana sorcery that just yeets something for 2 or less. This is not Fatal Push. Fatal Push is an instant, and Fatal Push technically has an easier trigger, at least in other formats where it sees more play. But Fatal Push doesn't hit planeswalkers, and this does. So it competes with a lot of other decent black removal. But the reason I do like this card, and I'm probably going to experiment with it a decent amount, is just the fact that it scales, right? I really do like scaling effects, especially in a control deck, because it allows you to address both of your main concerns, right? If you're going against an aggro deck, you get to just hit one of their early drop creatures, easy peasy and lemon squeezy. Yes, you have to do it at sorcery speed, but being able to just kill something you were likely going to kill anyway is typically quite nice. And then, of course, if you're playing against control, sure, it's at sorcery speed, but, my control deck is Grixis, and that's almost always a sorcery speed anyway. But you'll be able to yeet one of their planeswalkers, or one of their bigger creatures, and that's just helpful. So I do like the idea of this card, even if it doesn't necessarily see play in Historic. I just think that scaling black removal is quite nice, and maybe it's just a budget card for a deck. Lotus Cobra's back. Lotus Cobra is a 2-mana 2/1 snack that landfall. You get to add a mana color. This card does good things. I mean, this is after like the reprint announcement and everything, but like still, $16-17 for the OG version. $55 for, frankly, a really pretty version. It's just nice. It's cool. It's a cool card. I'm glad it's back. I'm not glad that it is in a format where ramp is already stupid, but it is what it is. Omnath, Locus of Creation. Oh gosh, look, don't get me wrong. I love Chris Ron's art. In my opinion, he is the one you get the swords for. But this treatment, it just looks so good. Omnath now has 4 colors of mana. We added the white here. 4 mana, 4/4. Crisp. I really like the symmetry there. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, add Omnath mana. If it's the third time, it deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. Notice, this ability has resolved this turn. So if it's, theoretically, you've played 5 lands or something, that's not going to matter, right? Omnath will see any 4 of those, and it'll do, or any 3 of these technically. Also notice that each of these colors is represented in the opposite order. So blue is the first one. Enters, draw a card. That's blue. Gain 4 life. That's white. Add mana. Add mana. That's green, and then deal 4 damage, that's red. I love this card. I plan on making a Brawl deck for it, obviously. This is another blacklist commander for blacklist commander color identity. This joins Kyo and Tyros, something like that. I call him Kel'Thuzad because I can't pronounce his name. And it's just cool. I've seen some dumb things on Star City Games with Omnath, but I just like it. I think it's a generally cool card. Shepherd of Heroes, a 4-mana, 3/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each creature in your party. Your party consists of up to 1 of each cleric, rogue, wizard, or warrior. Notably speaking, this is a cleric. It counts itself. So at minimum, you're going to have, well, I assume this checks on resolution. So this could add nothing if this dies in response to the trigger, but it does count itself, so theoretically it's 5 mana, 3/4, they gain you 2 life. This is a common, for what it's worth, you know, it's a decent common 5 mana, 3/4 flyer. Not bad as long as the format allows for a blue-white flyers deck like this. I believe, and I can't find the source for this, that Wizards has balanced the party mechanic around having 2 on average. So, you know, on average, Wizards wants you to get a 5 mana, 3/4 flyer that gains you 4 life. That is pretty much on rate, but you can get more, you know, 6 or 8, which is better. Acquisitions Expert, 2 mana Human Roge. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals a number of cards from their hand equal to the number of creatures in your party. You choose one of those cards, that player discards the card. It's a 1/2. I do not think this card is good. Fantastic art by Anna, but I don't think this card is good. Because you could... other effects like this, that like kind of have a scale on how many cards you see, I'm fairly certain are not good. I don't think this is good. Like, this is not a freebooter? Something freebooter? The 2 mana 1/2 with flying in Kitesail freebooter. That's the card I'm looking for. I know what cards are. Hazary, Beacon of Unity. This is a 5 mana 4/6 spell cost 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. On average, Wizards expect you to pay, what is that, 3 mana for this? Yeah, I can do basic math. But you can potentially cast for 1, which I think is cool. It has 2 Brid for blue, black, red, and green. Look at the top 6. You may reveal up to 2 cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, and or ally. So I do appreciate, even though there are no allies in the set, Hazary still does have some ally synergy. I really want Wizards to continue to do things like this, where if we go to new sets, there is still some sort of backwards compatibility. So far, I think this is the main type that we've seen, creature type compatibility. But it'll be a little bit more interesting to see other kind of references, I guess, in other sets. And I don't know exactly how to explain my thoughts on that, but still. Theoretically, you can get a full cache of 6, although they wouldn't all be, you know, you can't get 6 clerics, but theoretically you can get a whole cache. Put them in the bottom, the rest on the bottom in any order. I mean, if you look at her like Mael, it's cool that you can get like a lot of cards into your hand. She can potentially cost less than Mael, and her ability can potentially cost less than Mael. A lot less for what it's worth. And it doesn't tap, so you can do it a bunch. But getting the cards in your hand, I just don't think is as worth it, unfortunately. She's cool, don't get me wrong. Probably going to see some Brawl play as a fun party deck. But other than that, she's meh. Linvala, Shield of Seagate, is a 3 mana 3/3 flying angel wizard. You like Pac-Man pick this all the time because this is just a 3 mana 3/3 flyer. Beginning of combat in your turn, if you have a full party, so that's 1 of each, which includes Linvala, so you only need 3 other creatures. Choose target non-land permanent opponent controls until your next turn. It can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Cool. This is a non-land permanent. You can hit creatures, obviously. You can hit enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers. So what's nice is that you can actually just like, you know, beginning of combat, you have your full party. You say, all right, Jace, you don't get to be activated. I'm going to attack your face. You can ignore the Jace, at least for a turn. And then you can focus on murdering your opponent. So I think this is cool. This does stop mana abilities because it will say otherwise. It'll say like, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So theoretically, if your opponent has a large artifact or something that produces mana, you can say, nope, you do not get to use that. Then, of course, sacrifice Landfall, choose Hexproof for indestructible creatures you control, gain that ability until end of turn. I do think that there's going to see some play in the historic Azorius Flyers builds, because having one, it's just a 3/3 flyer. Like, you don't even have to build around having a full party. I don't know if you can. What is Spectral Sailor? It's a Spirit Pirate. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think that deck runs enough to even get a full party, but that doesn't matter because you can just protect your board. That deck does not like to get hit with board wipes, and that deck definitely doesn't like it when it's Ephemeral Eagle. Sure. Gets hit with target removal. So you can just use this as a really cool sack effect. I think it is pretty decent. What's nice is that this does not care about creatures having flying. So all of the stuff that I'm talking about, blue-white flyers, if you're just having a creature deck that happens to run white and blue, this is a pretty decent choice. And something that I'm going to mention right now is that this could slot into Historic Death and Taxes, which could actually have this whole full party thing, which is amazing for a deck like that. And since we're a creature control deck, we can have this amazing protection against board wipes, which still can wreck us. I love this card. Spoils of Adventure. Once again, Wizards typically is thinking that you're going to spend 2 less for this, so about 4 mana for an instant, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. If you are making a party deck, and you can cast this consistently for 4 mana, I do think this is a pretty good card. Plus 3 life and draw 3 cards for 4 mana. At instant speed, quite nice. The thing is, if you have nothing, this is a 6 mana card, gain 3 life, draw 3 cards. Honestly, that's actually not even bad though. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's not amazing, but it's not a bad rate to be honest. Sphinx's Revelation's what? 33. Sphinx's Revelation would be this is on rate Sphinx's Revelation. Except it's technically easier to cast. Obviously, Sphinx's Revelation scales better. You can do it sooner or later. But this is on rate. You know what? That's not bad. I don't know if it'll actually see play anywhere, but I mean, for what it's worth, you play this all the time in limited, at least in sealed. But I don't know if it'll see play anywhere else. It's on rate though. I appreciate that. All right, now we get to the rare flip lands or DFC lands, modal DFC lands, MDFCs. I'm very excited in trying these cards, especially in things like Bolas, because right now it's very difficult for the Bolas deck to justify a large number of either blue or red, because we're so heavily invested in black, because obviously Nico Bolas Dragon God is triple black pips. So we didn't get the Triumphs, sucks. But theoretically, having cards like Riverglide Pathway can allow me to maintain the focus of my mana base on being black. And then having some cards. I don't know if I'll end up using this one specifically, because in general, I would want to have cards that can either be black, my main color, or one of the secondary colors. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to build this, because as I've said, I'm not the best player. But I do really appreciate what these cards do. I think these are fantastically designed. You can't fetch them. They can be, if you're just getting one back. Actually, I don't know how that works exactly. I guess if you're putting a land directly into play, I don't know exactly how that works. I know if it says you can play a land, then you could choose, like if you cast Uro, and then you draw this, it says you may play an additional land this turn, or no, you may put a land into play. Oh yeah, I think the way this works is that you can still choose, but still, I think this is real nice. We got the white-black one, beautiful art on all of these. We've got the blue-black one, which is one of the ones I'm really looking forward to. The red-white one. The red-blue one again. Oh, these are I forgot. These are promo arts, and then the normal arts, which are still great. Don't get me wrong. We have a red-green one, a green-white one, and there's 6 total in Zendikar Rising. Wizards has said the other 4 are coming soon. A lot of people are saying that it's going to be like in Kaldheim or the D&D set. I'm pretty sure we're still going to get commander precons for Zendikar Rising like they did with not Eldrin, Ikoria. I was pretty sure that's what they were said is going to happen, so I assume they're going to be in that. Not far, like Mark Wolter said soon, not a while from now. So, and then we get to the first card. I'm very angry about this card. Confounding Conundrum, 2 mana, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Okay, sure. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand. I have talked about this, essentially this exact design in one of my recent videos. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but whatever. And do you remember what I said the card would do? It would be a cool card to help white decks deal with all of the ramp. Because this is a white effect. But Justin, blue gets bounce. First of all, so technically does white. Second of all, this is a taxation effect. You don't have to pay more mana. This is a taxation effect if I've ever seen one. Also, this isn't symmetrical, dude. This is whenever a land enters a battlefield under an opponent's control. You can play a blue-green ramp deck and still have this. In fact, depending on the amount of ramp decks being played in this rotation, this might be objectively correct to do because it also comes with a draw card. Here's a way to make this white. Remove the draw card, and then make this symmetrical. Or keep the draw card, keep it symmetrical, and bada bing, bada boom, is better and white. Or remove the thing, keep it unsymmetrical, and then maybe I can play this freaking card in Historic Death and Taxes and use this as like a Leon and Arbiter and just like ghost quarter my opponent's lands. Maybe that would be fun. But no, land destruction's too good. Even though my opponent's gonna have like 7 mana before I play my 3rd land, that's fine. But I can't destroy one of the basics. Oh no! It's fine. I lost the happy, but the happy's back. We got some really pretty full arts. This is something I need to talk about. I call it art creep. You know, this power creep, who cares? It's art creep. Wizards keeps making fantastic art. I only have so many decks that I can play. I only have so many positions for art. Stop it. I can't play all of this beautiful art. Just like it's all good. There's a little rope attached to this tiny little island. Someone just wanted to rope up here and maybe take in some rays, dude. Like, it's beautiful. The Cup Island has been modified with all the sky ruins and stuff. It's so nice. It's so nice, but I don't have room for all of this, man. And now you might be saying, well, Felix, if you just played multiple arts in your deck, get off of my channel. This is a one basic land art household. And if you don't like that, you can live on the street with your Aunt Sally. I should have said Aunt Karen, it would have made more sense. Anyway, just so much good stuff. So beaut. It's so cool. Like, and it's so good. It's good. It's good, and I'm upset, but it's good. 4 mana 3/3 human warrior, cool. Helps with parties and stuff in limited. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature in your party. Is not very good. This is a 4 mana 3/3 that can give a single creature +1/+1. And not very good. I mean, of course, it's not very good in the context of constructed formats. I do not care about limited. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Tajuru Paragon is a 2 mana 3/2 elf, cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. This is a rare. It's a rare. I'm not going to say this card is a power creep because it's not directly comparable to technically anything. But what I will say is that just because a card is more rare doesn't mean it has to be stronger. And I think this is like undeniably stronger. Well, the thing, right, is that this is also more complicated than commons and uncommons. However, I believe that this is a vertical cycle where there are going to be many many of these creatures with essentially this same thing in green. By many, I think one of each. But it is also just like super powerful. 2 mana. Why'd it have to be a 3/2? Right? Why 2 mana 2/2? It's something like Legends of Runeterra. There's a joke that epics are weaker than commons, or I think it's commons, rares, epics, champions. I want to say that's right. But yeah, like there's a joke that the epics are weaker than like commons. And that's because the epics are typically more complicated, but not necessarily just like objectively more powerful. I mean, you could even see that with the champion cards, right? Like you have a limited slot of champions, which are essentially the mythics. They're not really, but let's go with it. They're essentially the mythics. They're more complicated, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than any commons or uncommons. There are decks in Legends of Runeterra that don't run any champions, which is annoying and nonsense, but whatever. But you know, there are decks like that. And obviously in Magic there are decks that don't have things like mythics. There are technically decks because of Pauper exists, but if you're talking about like standard, even things like red deck wins, those have rares in. Yeah, I'm just making sure. They have rares in them. So it's just a bit annoying seeing a card that like did not have to have this much nonsense stapled to it. Regardless, 2 mana 3/2. Kicker enters the battlefield. If it was kicked with the top 6 card of the library, you may put a card that shares a creature type. So an elf, cleric, rogue, or warrior or wizard from among them, put in your hand with the rest in the bottom in any order. This card is really good. Screw all the rest of that nonsense. This is a good elf card for historic elves. It's a 2 mana 3/2 elf, which is fine by itself. It's fine by itself. Elf. But once you get to the point where, you know, you have a bunch of mana in the late game and you're just looking for that extra lord or something, you can kick this pretty easily and get that elf lord you're looking for, play another elf lord, and swing out. So I think it's really strong in historic elves potentially. Gnarled Colony. I do like that they're bringing back some cool stuff here. 2 mana 2/2 beast. Crisp. This is a grizzly bear with upside, great and limited. If it was kicked, it ends the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has triple. So this is pretty nice. Obviously 1/1 counters is another sub theme in the Zendikar Rising limited environment. We've seen some decent support for that in Arena, generally speaking. So you know, 5 mana 4/4 with trample, not bad. But early game, 2 mana 2/2, that gives all of your other 1/1 creature trample. I think it's a very strong limited card. Might of Marasa is not Might of Old Kroza. It just isn't. That said, 2 mana instant. Target you get +3/+3 until end of turn. Sure, I mean, yeah, that's a bad giant growth, but you have kicker, so that's options and stuff. You like versatility, right? Yeah, I mean, sure. It's a 5 mana +5/+5. No evasion, no trample. 5 mana. Very good combat trick for limited. Like I'm not gonna be stupid about it. It is good combat trick for limited, but I'm not playing it. So, what do you think? I'm playing anything other than blue white flyers? Get out. Aura. I keep wanting to say Oprah. But I'm calling this dude Oprah. Whatever. Oprah. Skyclave Hierophant. 4 mana 3/3 Core Cleric Lifelink. I do want to say I love Core. I think Core are one of my favorite creature races. So there are race creature types, and then there are class creature types. So this is a race core class cleric. So I really like the core. I think they're really cool, and I would like to see a lot more versions of core. I think right now we only have core on Zendikar and Dominaria. The Dominaria core might be gone. I don't remember seeing them in Dominaria, the set. I don't think core anywhere else. I'm gonna pause the video real quick. Yeah, no, only Zendikar and Dominaria, but they were only there during the old sets. So Wizards, get on putting more core in more sets. I like them. I think they're cool. Obviously the main feature of them is like their vaguely translucent skin, their super white hair, and the men have barbels instead of hair on their beards. I think that's really cool. I would like to see some different variation of them. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Anyway, 4 mana, 3/3 lifelink. When it or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is similar to something called Soul Shift from Kamigawa. However, this is better in pretty much every way. What is cool is of the fact that this has lifelink. It's white and black, is a cleric, cares about clerics. I think technically that's it. But still, there is a really strong chance of having like a an Orzhov or an Abzan cleric life gain aristocrats deck even, potentially. I'm definitely going to be trying it out. I'm also going to be trying this in Brawl because it's cool, and Core are cool, and Oprah's cool. Spitfire Legacy. It's a 5 and a 3/4 that can deal 1 damage to each opponent on Landfall. It's cool. It's whatevs. Coveted Prize. Once again, Wizards expects on average you're going to pay with a party centric deck. You're going to pay about 3 mana for this, which is cool. You can pay 1 for it. Search the library for a card, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. If you have a full party, you may cast a spell with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Note: you do not have to cast the card that you search for. You don't have to reveal the card that you search for. You, if you have a full party, you're casting this for 1 mana. So theoretically, you can cast this for 1 mana, get something extremely expensive, cast something for 4 mana that maybe gives you more mana, and then cast something extremely expensive. I think this card is interesting. I do not think this is going to see play in Standard or frankly on any arena format. Maybe a Taz. No, the problem with Brawl, and I'll continue to say it, is it's too small of a format. 25 life, 60 cards is just not what you're looking for. Like, it doesn't get at the heart of one of the reasons Commander is great. Obviously, one of them is the whole multiplayer aspect. But one of the reasons is that you get to play with bigger, flashier spells because because of the high life total and the high card count, the games are inherently going to last a bit longer. And the fact that, you're restricted to 60 cards and 25 life means you can't cast something even like as cool as this. And until Wizards either changes Brawl to be 30 and 80, or even just puts EDH on Arena. Frankly, I think that Wizards should obviously put EDH on Arena at some point, but I think they should just change how Brawl works and make it a 30 life 80 card format. I think that would just be generally better to have it feel a little bit more like EDH and Standard like had a baby. Right now it's just like bad Standard. It's not bad, it's weird Standard. Whatever. Right, the reason I don't think it's going to see any play in Standard is because the decks that you're playing a full party with, I don't suspect that you're going to be wanting to search for like random things. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Cliffhaven Self-Sword is a 2 mana 3/1. This is what? Blade of the Sixth Pride? It is an aggressive white card for the Warrior equipment deck in Limited. Legion Angel. 4 mana 4/3 of Flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a card you own named Legion Angel from outside the game, put it in your hand. This card is interesting. Obviously, it does not work in a lot of... No, this doesn't work in EDH either. Yeah, because, even theoretically, you can play with sideboards in EDH. I prefer people don't play with wishboards. I just don't like it because... I don't need to talk about it here. But this is probably only going to see play in, like, control decks and Standard. Right? Like you dedicate a few slots to this in your sideboard, which isn't the best, but, like, you dedicate a few slots to this in your sideboard. And then you just, like, get to have... a threat. Obviously it has to resolve, but like still, like you have a card that you can cast. It's not a bad rate, 4 mana 4/3 Flyer that essentially draws a card. Is nice, but like I don't maybe this is just like great in best of 1 Angel decks. Sure, yeah, let's say that. It's fine. Well, no, it's not great then. Because like making it so that you can get more from your sideboard means that you're only going to have 1 of this in your deck, or like 2 and 2. Maybe it's optimal to do like 3 and 1 instead, so that the first one is great from your sideboard, but then the other ones aren't as good. I don't know. I'm talking myself around in circles. I don't know how I feel about this card, honestly. It's a fine rate, 4 mana 4/3 Flyer. Pick this in Limited for sure. But I just don't know. I don't know where you're supposed to put this, like at all. Clerk of Life's Bond. Somebody say clerics. Somebody say clerics. 2 mana, 2/2 vampire cleric. Whenever another cleric enters the battlefield under your control, I'm very sorry. Sorry about that. You gain 1 life. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Clerk of Life's Bond. Now, this is hopefully going to be very reminiscent of both Sarah Ascendant and Johnny's Primate. The reason for that is essentially this is both of those stapled together. However, this only gets bigger the first time you gain life. It is still each turn, which is nice, and this only checks your own creatures, and they have to be clerics. But as I said, I think you can reasonably make an Orzhov cleric life gain +1/+1 sacrifice counter deck. It's cool. Hardside Adapt is a 3-mana core wizard, 3/3, and is the battlefield. You and target opponent each draw a card. Unless you can have a way that your opponent doesn't get to draw cards, this card is probably pretty bad. If Wizard is trying to like consider potentially this being like a different like way that White can get card draw, this ain't it, Chief. Yeah, this ain't it. Even though it's like target opponent, like I guess technically this has applications. Obviously, it's not good enough to see play in like EDH or something, unless of course you're playing fun EDH. But yeah, this can't really see play in EDH, even though potentially this has some help. You know, you and another player are both like the most behind at the table, something like that. Then you can play this, or you can strike a deal with someone. It's like, hey, I'll give you a card draw if you like don't touch my board next turn or something like that. So you know, this has applications, but obviously as it is, it's not something that's going to see play in a format like that. Merfolk Wind Robber, 1 mana Merfolk Rogue with flying. I hate it. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a card, sacrifice it to draw a card. Activate this ability only if there are 8 more cards in an opponent's library. This is very interesting because we had the one rogue, the black 1 mana rogue, that had essentially this like ability. And Wizards does like to put like a little foreshadowing in other sets, but like you could have never suspected that was what was being like a foreshadow card, right? So I think it's very interesting that the rogues of Zendikar Rising have a bit of like mill synergy and 8 or more cards in graveyard synergy. I think it's cool. Those are my thoughts on that card. Did you Blight Blade, 1 mana 1/1 elf rogue with Death Touch? I actually love the 1 mana 1/1 Death Touch creatures. They're fantastic in a limited environment, often for keeping bigger creatures in check while you hit them in the air. Typically they're green or black, which does mean that if you are running Azorius Skies, that you'll have to branch out a little bit, but oftentimes that'll be fine. With green, they can give you some pretty large creatures to stem the tide on the board, and with black, they can give you some really nice removal to, once again, stem the tide on the ground. So I like this card. It's an elf, which might actually matter in some situations. It's also a rogue, which might matter in some situations. But in general, I really like these cards in Limited. Xerath Son the Trickster. 5 mana, 4/4, flash Merfolk Rogue. This essentially is ninjutsu. I don't need to. It's rogue jutsu. All right, that's what it is. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may put target permanent card from the player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control. This card is very similar to a card called Ink Eyes. She was a ninja who it did very similar things. So that's very similar to stat line as well. The difference is that Ink Eyes I think costs 1 more to cast normally. Could only reanimate planeswalkers. Or sorry, she could only reanimate creatures. My bad. But she could regenerate. So similar card, but obviously different. That said, this card seems just fun. This does not have Commander Ninjutsu or whatever the 1/2 mana 1/3 commander does, but still I think it's a pretty cool card. And honestly, you might still be able to play this as a commander. It does in Brawl. It does still have flash, so you can still flash it in and then just give it like unblockable somehow, and start reanimating nonsense. And the thing is, like, it's target permanent, it's not non-land permanent, so you're very rarely gonna full whiff. So it's cool, especially considering rogues have the whole mill package. And what's interesting here is, well, it's on the other screen, so I'm not gonna go back. But there's that 1 mana one that has flying. Other rogues have various evasion abilities. That's why they're rogues. So having an effect on in this tribe, I think it's cool. I think it's a really well designed thing here. It's fun. It's cool. Nissa of Shadowed Bows. 4 mana for Loyalty Planeswalker. Landfall, when a land enters the battlefield under your control, loyalty counter on Nissa of Shadowed Bows. Bows. It's bows. +1, untap target land you control. You may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace until end of turn. It's still land. This is cool. It doesn't actually protect herself because of the fact that it's not until your next turn. I do like that it's not permanent. I do like that they're only 3/3s. I like that they get menace. That's cool. It means you can actually be more aggressive with your lanes. Let's see. And I like that this technically does ramp you, right? Because you get to just untap a land you control. So you could theoretically, play this on 4, untap something and play a 1 mana or something like that. No, whatever. Then I do like the you may have it become a 3/3. You're not always going to want to do that. Your opponent can kill your lands. That's not great. Loyalty starts at 4, -5. You may put a creature card with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard with 2/1/1 counters on it. You might be saying, what's the point of having it be from your hand or graveyard? Why not just your graveyard? One of the reasons for that is you can double get cards, right? Like theoretically, you -5, you put a Thragtusk into play, you cast a Thragtusk, you get 2 Thragtusks. As value right there, baby. You get 2/1/1 counters on one of them, which is also quite nice. This is Landfall, which makes me think this might be Nutso. This one, right, is not super. It's not super narrow, but it doesn't look super strong, which I think is fine. I think as narrowness increases, I think power level should be allowed to increase with the Planeswalkers. But as narrowness decreases, I do think that the power level should also decrease, not decrease. But theoretically, you can play her on turn 5. Play her before you play your land. Play this, then you play Fabled Passage, crack Fabled Passage. You'll have 5 lands in play. Then you can -5 get some big 5 mana card. So you get Nissa plus this thing, and your Nissa will still be at 1 loyalty. So it's cool. Windrider Wizard. It's a Windrake. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. It's a Windrake that loots. It's good. This is what I like to call playable in flyers. This is the alternate art, which is just lovely, absolutely fantastic. Palaka Predation, horrifying. 3 mana sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a card from it with converted mana cost 3 or greater. That player discards a card. Or discard that card, sorry. And then of course it's the Caverns. I don't think this one was very good. You want an effect like this to cost 2 because you want to be able to hit their 3-cost card, right? If this is hitting CMC 3 or greater, you want this effect to cost like at most 2. That way, if you're going first or second, you can still hit it, right? If you're going second, you can't get this card. You're going first, you still can. If you're going second, you can't hit their 3-cost card, which is not great. Obviously, you can still hit their 4, 5, yada yada yada, but the flexibility of this card is not such that this is great in constructed. I have no idea how these cards are going to play in limited. Rear Captain, 4 mana, 1/1 Angel Warrior. What? Flying and Vigilance. How nice. When enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it for each creature in your party. This is a minimum of 1. This is a 4 mana, 2/2 Flying Vigilance. It's not bad. Azorius Skies will likely take this. Especially considering Azorius Skies has cards like this, right? So, theoretically, Wizards has planned on the draft environment to be such that you're getting 2 for your party on average. So this can be thought of as a 4 mana, 3/3 Flying Vigilance, which is actually quite good. So, good and limited. Tajiri Snarecaster, 3 mana, 1/4 Reach. Taunting Arbor Mage, 3 mana, 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. And this is a really nice combat trick, essentially, in your limited decks, where you can, you play this as a 3 mana, 2/3, not the best, but, it fills your curve. And then later on in the game, if you have, a very wide board, or you have one creature that is big enough to kill your opponent, but doesn't have evasion or trample, then you can play this. You have one of your dorky dudes also attack with your big buff creature or your whole board. And then it forces essentially all of your opponent creatures to bully this one card while the rest of your creatures kill them. It's what I like to call these. Archpriest of Iona is a 1-mana human cleric. Its power is equal to the number of creatures in your party. It doesn't matter if this is 1. Who cares? And made combat on your turn. If you have a full party, target creature gets +1/+1 against flying until end of turn. I do not see how this is ever good. Like, I guess if there's maybe a party deck, but I will say this is the type of rare I like to see. And you might be saying like, what? You're losing your mind. This card seems awful. It's complicated, kind of. You know, it has this whole star factor. It is a 1-mana card with, you know, a decent amount of abilities. You know, it's fine. It's not just like strong for the sake of being a rare. It requires you to have a full party to get these. I think it might have been like more interesting if it was like, if you have a, because this is a cleric in and of itself, right? So it's like if you have a rogue, it gets plus. No, like if you have a rogue, it gets flying. If you have a wizard, no. If you have a wizard, it gets flying. If you have a warrior, it gets +1 power, and if you have a rogue, it gets +1 toughness, or something like that. And then maybe you have an actual bonus if you have a full party, where I don't know what would happen, but still, I think that would be interesting. Might be too good though, because then like it's more modal, blah blah blah. I don't care, but I like that it's a cleric. I wish that was a core. If there's a party deck, this will be in it. Akum Hellhound. 1-mana, 0/1. Elemental Dog. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Akum Hellhound gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is similar to cards like Steplings, Plated Geopede. However, it is not those cards. You play this on turn 1. On turn 2, you play a land. We're considering just standard and historic. You play a land. This becomes a 2/3. You attack with it. Not bad. You play a 2-drop. The next turn, you have to play a land in order to have this even be a 2/3. The turn after that, you're playing a mono red deck. Not necessarily going to be playing a 4th land on turn 4, so this card just sits there. Not necessarily going to do it on turn 5 or turn 6. Without good fetch lands, I do not think that a card like this is going to see play in Arena. Skyclave Apparition. This card is Strunk. When I first saw it, I was like, this doesn't seem very good in Death and Taxes. Then I realized, this, first of all, says non-land, non-token permanent, so you can just hit anything, as long as it costs 4 or less, which is great. And then when it leaves the battlefield, they get an XX blue token, where X is the CMC. At most, this can ever be is a 4/4. The Death and Taxes deck can potentially have like bounce type effects, or like blink type effects, and also, it doesn't have evasion. Like, it's not that bad. So I think this is probably just like generally decent. The issue is that I think with some of the other cards that we'll talk about, this fights with a pretty contested spot at this point. And it is a 2/2 in of itself, and it doesn't fly itself, so. That said, whatever. Umara Wizard. Jesper, dude. Its art is so good. 5-mana, 4/3. When you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, it gets flying until end of turn. Looks like that is a part of the set, and then it's a cool little land. Limited, I guess. Skyclave Cleric. It's 2-mana, 1/3, and it's a battlefield gain 2. This is actually a pretty decent card for the Azorius Skies deck in Limited, because it allows you to have a decent body on the ground. It blocks all those pesky bears, bears, and it gains you life, which is helpful at accepting some hits on the ground while you continue to hit your opponent in the air. And if you have to, you can play it as a land. Synchronized Spellcraft, 5-mana instant, deals 4 damage to target creature and X damage to that creature's controller, X the number of creatures in your party. This just like deals damage to the creature always. If you have a party, that's bonus. Yeah, it seems like decent removal in Limited. Yeah, this seems like decent limited removal. Into the Royal is a reprint, and I'm glad to see it back. It's cool. Turn target non-permanent to its owner's hand. If the spell was kicked, draw a card. This is essentially Blink of an Eye. I think this is exactly Blink of an Eye, actually. How many cards do we have? Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna finish this page, and I do not know how I'm gonna finish all of these. One is tomorrow is Tuesday. Well, tomorrow for you is Wednesday. For what it's worth, I don't think there's a ton of Bolas stuff, so we're just gonna do it live. I don't know. Demon's Disciple, 3 mana, 3/1, Human Cleric, and as a battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. This is one of the many merciless executioner, fleshbag marauder, plague crafter, those types of effects. There are a lot of them. 3 mana, 3/1, sacrifice things. Cool. Can always use more of them. Grow Tag, Night Runner, weird name. 3 mana, 2/3, Goblin Rouge. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play the card this turn. Cool card. Goblin is hideous. Kaza Royal Chaser is a 2 mana flying haste human wizard. 1/2. Tap. Next instant sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. That's cool. I don't think it's very strong, but it's cool. You can have like a wizard EDH deck. I've seen some blue-red wizards decks. Actually, I've seen mana blue wizards decks, so maybe you can do blue-red with this. I don't know. I don't play these colors. Sneaking Guide, 1 mana, 1/1, pay 2, tap, target creature, power 2. We've seen this effect. I don't care. Ashaya finally gets a real card. She used to be a token. This is a 5 mana star elemental, powered up to each equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. What are you doing? Non-token creatures are forests in addition to their other types. This means that if, say, I play something that, destroys lands, I can hit creatures. If I, say, destroy all lands, then I don't have to worry about you having creatures anymore. Also, Ashaya is the soul of the wild. She's not Zendikar's world soul, right? Because planes have world souls now. Like, canonically. I know Davriel has a world soul in him. I believe technically, or at least allegedly, Matt Celestia is the world soul of Ravnica. So is Ashaya Zendikar's world soul? Or is it just a soul of the wild? Ooh, no, it'd be cool. That would be very cool. If we get, because we're going to get 5-colored Omnath, obviously. If Omnath becomes the new world soul of Zendikar, regardless of who the current world soul is, if it's Ashaya or some unknown entity. I think it's cool that the world souls are entities. Like, I think it's cool that the planes themselves have some sort of sentience and things like that. I think that's very interesting and can be developed in stories. But it'd be very cool to see like Omnath, like I don't remember what he is right now. He's Locus of something. But if he like becomes like Omnath, Locus of the World Soul or something, I think it'd be pretty cool. As for this card, Ardent Electromancer, 3 mana human wizard, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, add red for each creature in your party. This theoretically is going to give you back, or theoretically can give you back 4 mana. All red, but still interesting. On average, it's going to give you back 2, but I don't know how to sequence things, and I don't typically play red in limited. Seafloor Stalker, 3 mana Merfolk Rouge, 5 mana, gets +1 +0 until end of turn. It can't be blocked. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each creature in your party. It's decent if you're playing a party deck in limited. Core Blade Master, 2 mana, 1/1, Core Double Strike. Equipped warriors you control have Double Strike. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine. She's better with auras on her because of the fact that she has Double Strike innately, so like this is unneeded potentially if you have other like equipment on her, but it's cool. Kaito Cleric. Oh, I was thinking of a card from Scars of Mirrodin Block that had Metalcraft. I was like, why does this card seem familiar in essence? 1 mana, flying 1/1 Core Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, tap up to 2 target creatures. Kicker is 4. Am I gonna play this? Am I potentially gonna play this in Flyers and be happy about it? Possibly. Anti-Cognition. I think this card is interesting. 2 mana instant, counter target creature or planeswalker spell unless it's controlled phase 2. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in the graveyard, instead counter that spell, then scry 2. This doesn't hit instant sorceries, enchantments, blah blah blah, but it does hit like the main issues in a lot of decks. Very often, like the main threats of decks are going to be creatures, planeswalkers. So I think this has a lot of potential to see play in mill decks. Also helps you scry. I like it. I don't know if it's gonna like actually see play. Oh my gosh, I am realizing this is a common, and I do have a Pauper Turbo Fog deck. Although for what it's worth, in Turbo Fog, I prefer my counter spells to actually hit non-creature spells generally, or at least not planeswalkers you don't care about in Pauper. So yeah, it's not as good actually. A Cool Warrior. I do not like how this man's is looking. He looks very sick. Interesting horns on this Minotaur though. They're very like moose-like, which I think is pretty cool. 6 mana trample. It's an uncommon land thing. Bollygat Recovery. This card seems nuts. 3 mana sorcery, return target card from your graveyard to your hand, or it's just a land. In a deck like this, like very similar to the red one, this is the type of thing you're looking for, right? If you're in top deck mode where you have too many lands or whatever, you don't want to land. But having this is probably going to be great because you have excess land to get the best thing out of your graveyard and probably cast it immediately. Earlier on in the game, if you really need to, you place a land, and you're not terribly upset about it. I think this is pretty decent. Colony Ambush. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. 3 mana instant. Typically speaking, you're gonna want these effects to be 2 mana, but the fact that this is also potentially a land means it's a little bit better. Also, I would never enter any scenario where I see a like leopard creature with literal scythes on its arms. That Hazary Shelter, 2 mana instance, target creature control gains protection from color of your choice until end of turn. Once again, this is typically something you're going to want to see in 1 mana. We've seen something like God's Willing, where you also get to scry, but this can be a land. Prowling Felidar. I don't know what got its arm taken, but I feel bad for it. 4 mana, 2/3 Vigilant Cat Beast. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a counter on Prowling Felidar. This seems actually really strong and limited. Yeah, this is really strong and limited. Like on the attacking turn, this is a 3/4. And has Vigilance. It's 4 mana. I don't know. I could be super wrong. Draenor, the Last Blood Chief. 5 mana, 4/4 flyer. When it attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. You return that card to the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It's a vampire in addition to its other types. So this is an interesting like reanimation type card. The issue is that your opponent chooses and it has to be non-legendary, which does kind of suck. Like, I kind of understand why they say non-legendary, because then your opponent can just Google you and just be like, oh, we're just going to choose the Draenor that's in your graveyard again and again. And then you're just like, all right, well, I have to sacrifice this Draenor. But it doesn't mean that you can't like reanimate the coolest of cards. And of course, the fact that your opponent chooses means that it's not as good. I would 5 mana 4/4 flyer. I'm trying to think of this in like the context of Brawl. In limited, you play this every time. I mean, it's a mythic though. You almost always just play those. Is this even usable in Brawl? I don't think so. It's so slow and you get no say in what you get back. Yeah, I don't think so, unfortunately. Yeah. Expedition Diviner, 4 mana Merfolk Wizard, a 3/2 flyer, Dees. As long as you control another wizard, it gets when this creature dies, draw a card. Dees. Oh, hey, it's the girl from the instant that draws cards and gains life. Zulport Duelist, a 1 mana 1/1 flash, enters the battlefield. Up to 1 target creature gets a -2 until end of turn. Its control mills 2 cards. More of that rogue synergy. And that's it for today. My throat hurts a lot. I've been talking for an hour. We still have, I don't know, I just didn't do this. We still have, a lot of cards left, over 200. But I have work to do. So yeah, we're gonna end it there. I'm gonna say thanks to my lovely patrons, especially Fogwind, for the continued support. If you'd like to join them and support the show, you'll find links in the description below. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, all will be one. Yeah. Ow.